Hi YouTubers, this is me again. What I'm going to be doing this time is I'm having trouble uploading my videos recently, but what this video is going to be about is a couple weeks back, my grove celebrated Mabon, or the Autumnal Equinox. And as part of my Dedekind Path for my ADF Dedekind Path work, what they ask you to do is for each of the 8 high days, what you do is you basically write a short little essay, about 200, 300 words, not that big deal, about what this time of year, what this 8-day particularly means to you, and also having references to what it meant to people in the past, Indo-European people especially, what it meant to in the past. Just short little blurbs on each, so that you have somewhat of an understanding of what the high days mean. Basically, this is going to be basically just a reading of my essay. Well, not really a reading, but just I'm going to base my talk on my essay, but it's going to go off on tangents because that's just what I do. And another thing that's going to be featured in this is some excerpts from this book, Wheel of the Year, Living the Magical Life, written by Pauline Campanelli, illustrated by Dan Campanelli. I guess it's a husband-wife team, or brother-sister team, I can't remember, but basically what this book is basically the Wheel of the Year, and it takes each month in particular and says what this month is about, and if there's a holiday that's based in this month, or if there isn't, it explains what that holiday meant to people in the past, but also mentions what it means to people now. It's mostly to do with Wicca and Wiccan traditions, but I do like a lot of its pictures of actual objects in Indo-European history are here, and I really do like their Wheel of the Year that they have pictured. Where is it? I really do like their Wheel of the Year they have pictured here. And it changes for each month, so it kind of turns, I guess, towards each month. This is December's Wheel of the Year. Basically, if you can see all the little pictograms on there that describe that, that's December's. And just to give you a contrasting picture, this is September's. September's picture here. And as you can see, it's a little different than December because it's a different month. But yeah, this is pretty much. What I love about this book is that it has a lot to say about it. It has a whole chapter about that particular month and all that, and that's where I get some of my information from. But I get a lot of it also from other sources, such as this doesn't really do that, but a couple other books that I get them information from. But this is basically going to be my essay on that. It's going to take me just a couple minutes to read what I've got. But first I'm going to read one of the paragraphs they have for September at the beginning of this book, which I absolutely love. It's a great kind of interpretation of what this month is about as compared to the months before it and the months after. September. The yellow school buses of September days disappear into the early morning mist and reappear in the afternoon sunlight to disgorge their cargoes of kids. The warm September afternoons are still shaded by the lush green foliage of trees, but fields and meadows are a yellow sea of goldenrod, interrupted only by islands of purple asters. Monarch butterflies stop to sip nectar as they begin their long migration to an isolated hilltop forest in Mexico. Woolly bear caterpillars migrate to a place where they will hibernate for the winter. The amount of black on their bodies does not foretell the severity of winter, but their presence foretells its coming. Basically, what this time of year was about. And probably the ongoing theme throughout this time of year, not only in this month, It was a time to take stock of the year in both a literal and figurative sense. Um, it begins with the beginning of the harvest in August, and then it ends with the discarding of the chaff and the honoring of the dead, and in Samhain. It's situated in the middle of the harvest time, so it doesn't really have its own theme per se. It only continues from the one before. The August cross quarter, or Frextaxi in the Norse pantheon, was the start of the grain harvest, and the first loaf of bread was offered up in ritual at this time. This was also when the Thing was held in Iceland. So honoring Tyr, the god Tyr, would be also appropriate during that time of year. Some would also link the start of the wheat harvest to the cutting of Sif's hair. The autumnal equinox also would honor Thor and Sif due to their linkage with agricultural and the harvest. This time of year was kind of in the middle of the harvest. It wasn't really the beginning, but it wasn't really at the end of the harvest. It was a time of year. It's about taking stock and accounting for what you had. Samhain is about the celebration of the dead and the end of the year, followed by the beginning of the next. Mabon, in contrast, is setting up for that. We take stock and get ready for the end of the year when we remove the unneeded chaff from the wheat, or just the unneeded in general that we don't need during this time of year, or we won't need for the year coming. You're just taking things into account and making decisions about what you're going to discard during Samhain, or what you need and how you're going to use it, and things like that. There are subtle things to do during this time of year, but not anything like Samhain or Yule. Samhain has a big festival, Yule is a big festival, and Thanksgiving and all that good stuff. But the leaves are changing colors and will soon be gone. They are they're gorgeous this time of year, and they draw attention to the change of their colors, which is the changing of the seasons. They're subtle changes, but they're changes nonetheless. And it's kind of like when you're changing scenes in a play, the transitions between the scenes, they aren't really noticed, but they're just as important, or even probably more important than the scenes themselves. Because if you didn't have the transitions, the play would just continue going on and going on in the one space, and it would be very chaotic, and things would never change, and things would just go on top of each other, and it would be very chaotic. You couldn't figure out what was going on, because the players would never leave. They would just stay on the scene and maybe move back, and then the play would continue in front of them, or they would just stay where they were. It would be very chaotic. The transitions are just important as the scenes themselves. And this is kind of what this time of year is about. It's a transition. It's a scene change. And the people that are in charge of the scene change, they're dressed in black, or they blend in, and they kind of move things around, change things, and to where they are going to be in the next season. But they're not really focused on in and of themselves. The changes themselves are seen the beginning of the end, but not really the transition. Sorry, I've got a cold, so that's just what we're going to get with this video. But that's basically what this time of year is all about in general. What it means to me personally, it was a transitional time for me, because you're moving into, when you're doing school, and you're moving in from staying at home during the summer and moving into the school and learning and things like that. It was a big transition for me in general, because during my junior high and high school years, I would take the bus from my home to where my school was, which was about an hour-long bus ride. And I'm not exaggerating in any way, stretch, or form. We would have to get up at 5 o'clock and get there by 6. Get to the school by 7, I think. We got up at 5, and we would get ready. Take us about an hour to get ready, and we leave at 6. And we get to we get to the school at 7 or something. So a big long trip, but I didn't have to make that big long trip during the summer years. So it was like having to get up on time, blah 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 blah. It was a big thing for me. We didn't get ready for it. Really, it was just. But it's a big transitionary period during that time. And it was a big time of year for me for going to school. Things were changing, schedules were changing. I was at home a lot less, which was somewhat of a good thing, if you know my personal history. But, yeah, it was just a big transitionary period. A lot of chaos, a lot of things were going on. A lot of schools were going on. We were coming home from Grandma's, which was in Las Vegas. We were coming back to California on the plane and things like that. We were saying goodbye to a lot of people that we weren't going to see anymore. We were taking a plane ride home. There's a lot of things that were going on during that time of year. It wasn't necessarily a holiday for us. It was the beginning of something else that we were transitioning into, but using that word a lot. But it wasn't a big holiday. It was things were changing, but we didn't have really anything to mark that. Labor Day was interesting, but yeah, it wasn't until Halloween when we would notice that things were changing. Like it was getting somewhat colder. It wasn't cold during September, but it was kind of switching between the hot days of summer to the cold days of winter or fall or whatever. But during September there were some really hot days, but there were some really cold nights as well. So it was kind of like a mixed mash of things, where things were changing and things were kind of balancing out and becoming winter or fall, moving into winter and fall. It was such a transitory month. So that's basically what September was for me. We didn't really have a big holiday for it. It was just time to go to school, go shopping for school and things like that. But other than that, there wasn't really esoteric anything big for me growing up. Now, as I'm learning about the holidays and things like that, I'm watching the leaves change and things like that. And my mom did point out when the leaves were changing. I will give her that much. She said, yeah, the leaves were changing, changing their clothes. When they were in the wind during the windy days of September and October, whatever, they would be dancing trees. My mother would personify the trees during this time of year. It was a big thing for her to do that. I'm really surprised she wasn't a druid, but anyway, during that time of year, they were dancing. They were losing their leaves, and she would say that once they've lost their leaves, they're naked trees and stuff like that. And during the spring, they'd gone shopping and gotten different clothes on or something like that. It was that was one of the things I do remember from this time of year, is they were starting to fall off, and she would explain it that way, that they had outgrown their clothes and that they needed to go shopping for new ones. But that's what I do remember this time of year, us going for shopping for clothes, getting new things. We've outgrown a lot of things during the summer. We're changing clothes, things like that. That's what I do remember about this time of year. And moving into October, I do remember Halloween and stuff like that. But during this particular time of year, September, or that particular time of year, September, that's pretty much what it was all about. It's just lots of change, lots of chaos going on. But that's pretty much all I remember personally. That's pretty much how we celebrated it when I was younger. But now, with the I still recognize those things that are happening around me, and I recognize the energies changing for this time of year. And that's and I like Mabon a lot. And for personal meaning, it's something to celebrate even the little things. Like they're subtle, but they're little, but they still make a big impact. Coming together, they make a big impact that is sometimes lost between the two big holidays, between Thanksgiving and Christmas. They kind of take all the glory away from everything else in this time of year, when it's really the subtle things that build up and make the big things. The subtle things that make the changes, and that's pretty much what this time of year is all about for me. Okay, celebrating the little things that add up to the big things. Okay? Alright, so I'm going to stop talking because my voice is about to go out. And basically that's pretty much my thoughts on Mabon and then this time of year. Okay, see you later, and I'll have another one in a couple weeks about Samhain. So pretty much this is going to be something interesting to do. Okay? Alright, talk to you later. Bye. Have a good week.